Welcome back to another episode of the Killer Fillers. In today's bike adventure, we are going back in time and feature one of my personal hero growing up. Nope, it's not Wolverine, Batman, or even the GOAT Michael Jordan. It's none other than Jose Rizal. Growing up in a small barrio in Ilocos Sur, wherein we didn't have access to TV, and much more, wala pa internet nun. Life back then was so simple. As a kid, most of my time was spent playing on the streets. Papalipad ng saranggola, naglalaro ng text, minsan MVP sa patintero. And to kill time, nakahiligan ko magbasa ng mga libro. This is where I found out more about Jose Rizal. Halos lahat naman idol si Rizal. As for me, I always admire his great knowledge about anything, from science, writing, arts, culture, and of course, yung travel. Now, if you're wondering kung anong relate ni Rizal in today's episode, it just happened that among his many travels across the world, the first foreign country he stepped onto is Singapore. So it's 2021 this year, and that happened way back 1882. So 2021 minus 1882 equals 139 years. Wow. Tagal na pala. Little bit of history. In 1882, after finishing 4th year in his medical course in UST, Rizal left Philippines on his way to Spain to complete his studies in medicine. He used the name Jose Mercado to avoid detection by the Spanish authorities. As a young man at the age of 21 and person to travel, you will marvel on how he observed the culture and way of life here in Singapore kapag nabasa mo yung journal niya. If you want to read more on his Calamba to Barcelona journal, find the link on the description below. Grabe yung details. If he was still alive today, he would be the ultimate travel vlogger and even a plantito. You'll be surprised that many of the places and landmarks Rizal mentioned can still be visited today, and one can easily retrace his footsteps in Singapore. I did a bit of research, and most of the spots he visited are in the heritage district of Bras Basah, and I'm going to explore it today by biking. From here on, aside from my commentary, I'll be playing snippets of his journal entry. Alright, let's go and retrace his first day when Salvadora docked at Singapore.
The sea is now as calm as yesterday. We see nothing but a distant mountain on the northwest. The sea has a beautiful green color, and with the foam which the ship makes, I'm reminded vaguely of my childhood. We can now discern clearly several islands. The lighthouse looks to us like a lyrical flame. Later, still clearer, it resembles somewhat San Nicolas, only it stands on some rocks. We see more clearly vessels, houses, vegetation, highways, chimneys, all that an active city has. At last I disembark and hire a carriage to take me to La Paz Hotel. I'm in my room, which overlooks a patio adjoining the Hotel Europa. I hear English spoken everywhere. I'll remember everything I have seen since this afternoon. 2 large coal warehouses, but large ones, stand at the landing. Then well-built streets, plants on the sides. Chinese-style houses. Crowds of Indians of Herculean figures, Chinese, a few Europeans, and very, very few Chinese women. Shops everywhere with advertisements in English and Chinese, most lively men. The carriages resemble the trace porciento drawn by one horse. Some of these are large and some are very small. I have not yet seen pretty houses like those in the Philippines. We pass before the Malabar Temple, the Muslim, and the Chinese. We saw the police headquarters and returning to the hotel, I saw the Protestant church in Gothic style. Afterward I got down at the Hotel de la Paz where my driver charged me €1 as fare. I have forgotten to say that on our arrival many Malayan children came in bancos, canoes, saying to us so that we would throw them coins. Astonishing are their skill and agility, they are like fishes. For 2 cents they jump into the water and pick them up. Tomorrow I'll visit the town. There are many carriages for hire. I'm surprised to find the streets bordered with trees and many, on both sides. The town is rather pretty. When I returned to the hotel, I waited a long time for supper. At last it came after I had leafed through an illustrated German magazine with beautiful drawings. There was neither order nor coordination in the service. 2 punkas fanned the diners. Here I ate rice which was inferior to ours. The pineapples, though small, were sweet and tasted good. I have forgotten. A young Englishwoman as blonde as the one I met at my arrival. How I regretted that I did not know English. I left the Philippines exactly 1 week ago today, and I'm already in a foreign country. The first that I saw were 2 beautiful houses of Chinese and European style, surrounded by walls and trees. I made the carriage stop in front of a Chinese building decorated with dragons and paintings. I entered. I was equipped by Goinda with some English words. With these I entered a kind of small garden among columns and pedestals. Numerous beautiful plants and a variety of flowers, planted with symmetry and order, cages at the 2 extremes, in one of them were pheasants, a kind of turkey, and other birds beside, in the other, spotted deer and peacocks. I came out and got into the carriage to continue my tour. My driver, whose name is Nija, he said, pointed out to me an English building. Then a French church. There I stopped and went down. To reach it one crosses a beautiful garden, but I found it closed. From there to the Portuguese church, the same. It was closed, but the garden is less beautiful. After this, a magnificent Chinese temple, which was about to be finished. I entered it, large and tall pillars painted the color of coffee, 3 altars with painted idols, in the middle is a genie blowing stones over a dragon, paintings, sculptures, and good bas-reliefs. In the patio is a little tower of live rock which is charming. Afterward, through many streets and shops of fish, fruits, and 1,000 enigmatic things. After having seen 2 beautiful markets, the likes of which cannot be found in Manila. The palace of the Raja of Siam is also notable and has a small iron elephant and whatnot on the pedestal placed in front of the building. My carriage crossed a beautiful hanging bridge and we reached a lively place. Beautiful European buildings, shops, show windows. It is the Escolta of the town. The banks and a Japanese curio bazaar are located there. In all the houses there are fountains with faucets. In a certain way this is more advanced than the Philippines. An hour later, we had luncheon and then I took the carriage in the company of Goinda, the young Indian, who taught me how to shop. Following that, I went to the botanical garden, on the way to the Armenian cemetery. The entire road is beautiful, shaded by trees, beautiful bridges, and charming houses. I reached, 10 minutes, the garden located on a hill, as the majority of the constructions in Singapore are. Its cleanliness and orderliness are admirable, numerous plants with their labels beside them, well tended by Malays. One climbs up through a clean path with canals on the sides until one reaches a poorly inhabited cage. For it had only one cockatoo, one parrot, and other little birds. I found beside it a Chinese woman with an English boy. I continued walking, admiring those trees which charmed me and I entered a kind of storehouse with numerous varieties of parasitic and air plants, most beautiful and rare. I approached an Englishman who was playing with his dog. I greeted him and asked him for the zoological garden. He replied that there was none. I went away then, looked for a coach, and went back. On my way there were several English girls, some of whom were quite pretty, many coaches, and strollers. I stopped to watch the ball game and then told my driver, remembering what Mr. Buell taught me, steamer, meaning I wished to be taken to a boat. He understood me and we left.
So there goes a eventful 2-day stopover in the Lion City. Masasabi natin na sobrang impression with Singapore. His observations were mostly positive. The mixed ethnicities thriving together, the impressive architecture, streets peppered with trees, English spoken everywhere. Although na-disappoint lang siya dun sa service sa restaurant. Ang tagal daw. After checking out, he went on to board the ship Gemna to continue his journey to Barcelona. And the rest, they say, is history. All in all, he made 4 visits here in Singapore. His other visits were mostly stopovers to and from the Philippines. Not much details actually on his previous visits, that's why his diary entries here dito sa en route to Barcelona was probably the most useful. Because of that, Singapore recognized his work and visit to the Lion City. This memorial was unveiled near the Asian Civilizations Museum in his honor. So, kung may time kayo, ayun, nandito sa Singapore, please check this out. That's it for today. Consider subscribing and continue watching. See you again on the next episode. Until then, peace!